Yeah, but so there's still, I mean, it's crazy too because there's still more happening in court. Like, I mean, everything is still active, even though we're not hearing about it as much anymore. And the people may be fatigued, like we talked about prior to.
Sean Diddy Combs was denied bail for the third time. A federal judge saying that the government had proven by clear and convincing evidence that there were no conditions of release that would ensure the safety of
Sean Diddy, the celebrated music icon turned controversial defendant, finds himself at the heart of an extraordinary legal storm that shows no signs of calming. His third failed attempt to secure bail has only intensified the scrutiny surrounding his case, leaving many to wonder, how did one of the most powerful figures in entertainment end up staring down the possibility of spending the rest of his life behind bars? The allegations are shocking, the evidence mounting, and the stakes higher than ever, but what's truly captivating is the relentless avalanche of new lawsuits, accusations, and evidence that seem to surface daily. Buckle up. This story is far from over.
Yet another shot with Judge Subramanian? Or what will be his likelihood of success in a different court? Because there's currently a pending appeal at the Second Circuit Court of Appeals. So to get into all of this, I want to bring on former federal prosecutor Nima Rahmani, friend of the show. Nima, thanks so much for coming on. First, before we even get into what he can do next,
Let's start with the latest bombshell development. Judge Arun Supernan's decision to deny Diddy's bail for the third time. This isn't just a routine legal setback. It's a devastating blow to Diddy's defense team, who had proposed what they claimed was an airtight bail package. Picture this: a $50 million bond, a luxury apartment on Manhattan's Upper East Side, round-the-clock private security, no access to the internet or phones, and a strictly regulated list of pre-approved visitors. IT sounds like a fortress of accountability, right? But Judge Supernan wasn't convinced. In his 5-page ruling, the judge highlighted a troubling pattern of behavior that made it impossible to trust the hip-hop mogul on the outside. The court finds that the government has shown by clear and convincing evidence that no condition or combination of conditions will reasonably assure the safety of the community, he wrote, and why wouldn't the judge trust him? The list of reasons is as long as it is damning. First, there's the now infamous surveillance footage from 2016, which CNN unearthed earlier this year. The grainy hotel hallway video allegedly shows Diddy grabbing, kicking, and dragging his then-girlfriend Cassie Ventura during a heated altercation. This isn't hearsay. It's visual proof that has been impossible for Diddy's legal team to spin. Judge Supernan cited the footage as evidence of Diddy's propensity for violence, a key factor in his decision to keep the music mogul locked up. Add to that the chilling text messages from Cassie to Diddy in the hours after the incident, where she reportedly wrote, "I have a black eye and a swollen lip. You're sick for thinking this is okay." Those messages, paired with the video, paint a picture that's hard for even the most skilled defense attorney to refute.
House in Lower Manhattan, the judge ordering the prosecution to turn over its findings from a jail cell raid, Diddy's jail cell, just yesterday. What were the contents of those raids?
Well, apparently, according to the defense, they're legal documents. The government saying no, on the contrary, they're just some handwritten notes and a
But it doesn't stop there. Prosecutors have accused Diddy of continuing to manipulate and intimidate witnesses even from behind bars. Allegedly, he's been using three-way calls, unauthorized messaging services, and even other inmates' phone accounts to contact key individuals tied to the case. Imagine the audacity. Sitting in a federal detention center under scrutiny for obstruction and still finding ways to skirt the rules, prosecutors argued that his boldness demonstrates he's a danger to the community and a flight risk. Judge Supernan agreed, noting in his ruling that Diddy's behavior from his jail cell is strong evidence that he would pose an even greater risk if released.
If it is privilege, of course they won't. But if it really is what the prosecution says, that has nothing to do with the case, or even worse, it's actually evidence of witness tampering, because we all know the attorney-client privilege, there's a crime fraud exception. You can't use your lawyer to perpetuate a future or continuing fraud or crime. So if the documents are what the government says they are, they're going to get them again. And again, it's just going to be a matter of days, because I don't.
And then there's the issue of trust, or lack thereof. The judge also took aim at Diddy's legal team, accusing them of misrepresenting facts to the court. Point one example. They claimed that Diddy's legal pads in his jail cell were improperly labeled when, in fact, they weren't labeled at all. This might seem like a minor detail, but in the high-stakes world of federal litigation, Credibility is everything. Judge Supern and openly questioned whether Diddy's attorneys could be trusted to enforce the strict conditions of his proposed bail package. This skepticism, coupled with Diddy's alleged history of bending the rules, made the judge's decision clear. Bail denied.
Yeah, they probably didn't see these notes, and they never will.
But if you're Diddy, don't you want your notes back?
Yeah.
If you've spent so many hours gathering evidence for your side or strategy or whatever, for me I'd be oh no, please don't destroy, please return.
Now let's talk about the sheer volume of new allegations that have emerged since Diddy's arrest. It's as if his legal troubles have opened the floodgates. With accuser after accuser stepping forward to share their stories, the timeline is dizzying. It all began in November 2023, when Cassie filed her explosive lawsuit accusing Diddy of years of emotional, physical, and psychological mistreatment. The suit was shocking enough on its own, but what followed was nothing short of a tidal wave within weeks. Multiple women filed similar claims, each one more harrowing than the last.
With the decision, I'm surprised that Judge Subramanian entertained it. He held a 2-hour hearing, which we were covering live, and he issued a 5-page written order. Most other judges, including the 2 previous judges, to consider this issue, summarily denied the bail motion. I think a lot of it stems from Judge Subramanian being a newer judge. This is a Biden appointment.
One particularly disturbing case involves a woman identified as Jane Doe, who alleges she was coerced into traveling with Diddy and his associates under false pretenses. According to her lawsuit, she was subjected to terrifying experiences, including being stranded in unfamiliar locations and forced into situations that left her feeling powerless. Another accuser, Liza Gardner, claimed she was just a teenager when she first encountered Diddy at an industry party in the early 90s. Her lawsuit alleges that he took advantage of her while she was under the influence, leaving her traumatized for decades.
Occur, their argument is more than likely going to be that this activity was consensual, that this person was a willing participant, and not only that, but that these individuals assumed the risk of being present at those parties, of engaging and voluntarily engaging in this conduct and being in those spaces, consuming alcohol and things of that nature.
And then there's Rodney Lorod Jones, a former associate of Diddy who filed his own lawsuit earlier this year. Jones alleges that he was forced to participate in and witness deeply unsettling activities while working closely with Diddy. His claims include being pressured to procure individuals for private events and being constantly monitored by Diddy's team. Jones even claims to have video evidence of these events, which could prove to be a game changer if his case goes to court. What's striking about these lawsuits is how they seem to corroborate each other, weaving a narrative of systemic manipulation, control, and abuse. Prosecutors have argued that these stories aren't isolated incidents, but part of a larger pattern that spans decades. This is where the racketeering charges come into play, by framing Diddy's alleged actions as part of a criminal enterprise. Prosecutors can connect the dots between seemingly unrelated events, creating a cohesive case that's hard to dismantle.
Another push to free Sean Diddy Combs tonight, with his legal team citing new evidence in an updated bail proposal. The music mogul agreeing to around-the-clock security and cutting out contact with basically anyone but his legal team to get out of jail ahead of his trial scheduled for May of next year for charges he allegedly coerced and abused women for years.
But here's the kicker. All of this is happening while Diddy is sitting in one of the most notorious federal detention centers in the country. The Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn has been described as hell on earth by former inmates and legal experts alike, overcrowded, understaffed, and plagued by allegations of misconduct. The facility is a far cry from the luxurious lifestyle Diddy is accustomed to. His lawyers have argued that the conditions are so dire they're hindering his ability to prepare for trial. They've cited everything from limited access to legal documents to the lack of basic amenities as reasons why he should be released on bail, but Judge Subramanian wasn't swayed. In his ruling, he acknowledged the challenges of preparing for a complex trial from behind bars, but ultimately concluded that Diddy's behavior warranted his continued detention.
I'm familiar with the old Houdini. So what Diddy's lawyers are trying to do is pull a Houdini. They're trying to say that the evidence that they have is different. Well, it's not different. The video that the entire world has seen is not going to go away. The fact that he had parties that were freak-offs is not going away. So it's just a question of whether or not Diddy.
What's it like for Diddy inside the MDC? Sources close to the case describe a man who's struggling to adapt to his new reality. Gone are the designer suits, private jets, and red carpets. Instead, Diddy spends his days in a cramped cell, subjected to the same harsh conditions as every other detainee. A report suggests he's been placed in a special housing unit, isolated from the general population for his own safety. But even in isolation, his presence has created a stir among inmates and staff alike. Some see him as a celebrity who's finally being held accountable, while others view him as a target. The conditions at the MDC have been widely criticized for years. In June, an inmate was reportedly harmed in an altercation, highlighting the facility's ongoing issues with violence, self-inflicted fatalities, and other occurrences that have troubled the jail, raising concerns about its capacity to securely detain prominent prisoners. Diddy's legal team has expressed concerns about his well-being, but so far, their pleas have fallen on deaf ears for now. He remains behind bars, awaiting his trial date in May 2025.
There's a few things going on. First is the privilege issue. The judge will decide whether the documents are privileged or not. If they're not, they're going to go to the government. If the documents are not only not privileged, but they're evidence of witness tampering, then a few things can happen, all of which are bad for Sean Diddy Combs. First, of course, he did face obstruction of justice charges in a superseding indictment.
What's perhaps most shocking about this entire saga is how quickly it's escalated. In less than a year, Diddy has gone from being a celebrated cultural icon to one of the most scrutinized figures in recent memory. The lawsuits, the criminal charges, the leaked evidence. It's all building toward a trial that promises to be one of the most significant in modern history. And yet, for all the drama and speculation, one question looms larger than any other. If these allegations are true, how did it take this long for the truth to come out? As we transition to the next chapter in this unfolding story, we'll delve into the charges against Diddy's son, Christian Combs. How do these new allegations fit into the larger narrative? And what does it say about the culture of power and privilege that's been allowed to thrive in the entertainment industry? Stay tuned. The story is just getting started.
Flight was always going to be a tough argument for the government because obviously Combs voluntarily came to New York. He surrendered his passports through his lawyer. He could have fled after the March raids of his Miami and Los Angeles homes, but he didn't. He has access to 2 private jets. I think it was a tougher argument. I know the government made the argument, but clearly the best argument was the dangerousness and the witness tampering. They had much.
As if the storm surrounding Sean Diddy Combs couldn't get any more intense, his son, Christian Combs, has now been dragged into the chaos with allegations that are as shocking as they are disturbing. The accusations against Christian, detailed in a recent lawsuit, have left the public stunned and raised unsettling questions about the environment surrounding the Combs family. Is this a case of a young man following in his father's shadow? Or is it something even darker? And how does this fit into the broader narrative of power, privilege, and alleged wrongdoing that seems to have engulfed the entertainment world? Let's dive into the details.
From the general population, right? He's with, or was with, Sam Bankman-Fried at least. And the irony there is that someone who was granted bail tried to tamper with witnesses, so the judge revoked his bail. So that just goes to show how these federal judges feel about witness tampering before trial.
The allegations against Christian Combs stem from an incident that reportedly took place in late December 2022. According to the lawsuit filed by Grace Mark, a former crew member on a yacht chartered by Shaw Combs, what was supposed to be a family-friendly excursion quickly spiraled into something far more troubling. Mark claims that Christian, who was 25 at the time, became aggressive and inappropriate during one particular night. The suit alleges that he pressured her to consume drinks, made her uncomfortable with his behavior, and eventually tried to corner her alone. It's worth noting that Mark has provided what she says is audio evidence of Christian's actions, recorded during the alleged incident in a makeshift studio on the yacht. One particularly striking moment captured on the recording. Mark can reportedly be heard asking if the drinks she was being encouraged to consume had been tampered with, to which Christian allegedly replied, "Take the shot." What makes this case even more unsettling is the context in which it allegedly unfolded. The yacht, according to Mark, was anything but the wholesome environment it was advertised to be. Instead, She describes it as a setting filled with questionable behavior, partying, and an atmosphere that seemed to blur the lines between work and something far less professional. In her lawsuit, Mark paints a picture of a young man who, emboldened by his surroundings and perhaps by the influence of his father, crossed boundaries in ways that left her shaken and traumatized. She further alleges that after the incident, she reported Christian's behavior to the yacht captain, only to be met with disbelief and even backlash. The captain, she claims, retaliated against her in the months that followed, ultimately leading to her termination in May 2023. Christian Combs has denied these allegations, with his legal team dismissing the claims as fabricated and opportunistic, but the lawsuit doesn't stop at Christian. It also named Shaw Combs as a defendant, accusing him of creating an environment that enabled such behavior by chartering the yacht and allegedly failing to ensure the safety and professionalism of its operations. Shaw is being held legally accountable for what transpired. The suit even goes as far as to accuse him of aiding and abetting his son by fostering a culture where lines were blurred and inappropriate behavior was normalized.
Say that again. Say that again. Back up. You're saying that there's tapes and they're being shopped?
Yes, there have been people already shopping.
We've heard about the tapes, but the shopping thing is...
Yes, there already have been tapes leaking around Hollywood, being shopped around to individuals in Hollywood, but one particular person contacted me to shop a particular video they were in possession of.
What's particularly noteworthy about this case is how it mirrors some of the broader allegations against Shaw Combs himself in the federal indictment he's currently facing. Prosecutors have alleged that Shaw cultivated an environment where control, manipulation, and inappropriate behavior were not only tolerated but actively orchestrated. The parallels between the accusations against father and son are striking, and they raise uncomfortable questions about the influence of power and privilege. Has Christian, intentionally or unintentionally, adopted behaviors modeled by his father, or is he simply being swept up in the fallout of Shaw's much larger legal battles? While Christian's case is still in the early stages, it has already attracted significant media attention, in part because of the high-profile nature of his family, but it's also because the allegations against him seem to fit into a larger pattern of behavior that critics say has plagued the entertainment industry for decades. This is not just a story about one family, it's a story about an entire system that has, for far too long, allowed powerful individuals to operate with impunity.
Everyone keeps saying to me, like, how did you keep, why did you keep going? Why were you there? I'm like, it literally is around me. If I don't stay at home, this is the atmosphere I'm in. Like, I have no choice.
Take, for example, the allegations of misconduct that have emerged against other high-profile figures in the industry, from executives to artists. There's a troubling history of individuals using their influence to exploit those around them, and while progress has been made in holding some of these individuals accountable, the sheer volume of accusations that continue to surface suggests that the problem is far from resolved. The entertainment world has long been criticized for its culture of excess, secrecy, and unchecked power, and the Combs family's legal troubles seem to encapsulate all of these issues in one explosive case.
He is very, very dominant. Like, he wants to control the situation. He wants to control his inner circle. He wants to make everyone have a good time and enjoy his parties. And so, it is scary because you think, this person or possibly his social network or the people he's around could make or break your career.
What's particularly chilling about the allegations against both Sean and Christian is the sense of coordination and planning that seems to run through them. Prosecutors in Shaw's case have described an elaborate system designed to maintain control and silence dissent, involving everything from non-disclosure agreements to alleged acts of intimidation. Similarly, Mark's lawsuit against Christian alleges that she was not only mistreated, but also silenced when she tried to speak up. The captain's alleged retaliation against her serves as a stark reminder of how difficult it can be for individuals to challenge powerful systems, especially when those systems are backed by immense wealth and influence.
Wrong thing, or you complain, or I don't know, there's an element where I guess manipulated in a way to make you feel like, oh, you have to please everyone around you. You can't say anything wrong. You don't want to say a bad thing, or when they're constantly asking, would you like to do drugs? And you're like, well, I don't do drugs. And they're like, well, why don't you do?
As the legal battles against the Combs family unfold, one thing is becoming increasingly clear. This is not just about the actions of one man or even one family. It's about a culture that has allowed these kinds of behaviors to persist unchecked for far too long, whether it's the allegations against Shah, the lawsuit against Christian, or the broader patterns of misconduct in the entertainment industry. The message is the same. Power without accountability is a dangerous thing, and yet, despite the gravity of these allegations, there are those who continue to defend Shah and Christian, arguing that the claims against them are exaggerated or unfounded. Supporters point to their philanthropic efforts, their contributions to music and culture, and their public personas as evidence that these allegations don't align with who they truly are. But critics argue that this is precisely the problem. That the public images of power players like Shah Combs often serve to mask behaviors that occur behind closed doors.
Using, allegedly, these events to invite them back to these private mansion parties and hotel parties and God knows what else. But he was utilizing the branded events to be able to, get the girls to come over to his private.
So, what happens next for Shah? The focus is on preparing for his May 25th trial, a process that has been made all the more challenging by his continued detention at the Metropolitan Detention Center. His legal team is undoubtedly working tirelessly to counter the mountain of evidence against him, but the odds are stacked against them. For Christian, the legal journey is just beginning. But the implications are already profound. If the allegations against him are proven true, it could not only tarnish his reputation but also reinforce the narrative that the issues surrounding the Combs family are systemic rather than isolated. And for the entertainment industry as a whole, the stakes are higher than ever. The Combs family's legal troubles have sparked conversations about accountability, power dynamics, and the need for systemic change. They have also served as a stark reminder that no one, no matter how wealthy or influential, is immune from scrutiny. As these cases progress, they will undoubtedly continue to capture the public's attention, not just for their sensational details, but for what they represent, a reckoning that has been a long time coming.
Illustrating is this completely out of control party on a super yacht, including various celebrities, that when you read it, kind of rings true. I mean, when you read it, it doesn't come off as being something that's completely unbelievable. You have to take it to.
So, what do you think? Will Diddy ever be able to recover from these allegations, or is his legacy forever tarnished? And what about Christian? Is he following in his father's footsteps, or is there more to the story? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more updates on this ongoing saga. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next chapter in this unfolding drama. Goodbye.